Okay, welcome to episode lesson number 2. In this one, we are going to go through how to change all these different sprites. So what you should have is a very similar template to what I've got here. Now we're going to change the majority of them. The only one I don't have one for is the lava, so we're going to leave lava as it is. But what you'll notice is if I zoom in a tiny bit, um, is the actual game is currently just a load of different blocks or pixels, if you will. And what we're going to be doing is we need to upload our sprites that we've made, so the characters, the level designs, everything you've made into this folder here. Now, before we do that, what I've done already is downloaded my video game items. So I've downloaded them to a uh, into a folder. Okay, and what I'm going to be doing is taking them and basically adding them into the sprites folder itself. So here's my video game folder that I've loaded up. Okay, um, and essentially what I'm going to be doing is moving everything from here into that folder. Okay, so you can see I've got item, objects, level designs, and characters. Now, the reason I've got all of those is because every game needs items, every game needs characters, every game needs an enemy. So what I'm going to do is it's simple drag and drop for this. Okay, so you find the item object that you want, and all you're going to do is, for example, the levels. I'm going to go into sprites for the levels. There we go, sprites folder, and all I'm going to do is drag the level design into there. So my first one is level 1. Then it's going to be the cave that I've got as well. I want to put the cave in there. And I've got a few different sprites for different platforms. Okay. What else have I got? I've got the grassy one, and that's it. So I've got my different backgrounds. Now, it's not to say that when you put a background on there, it's going to fit perfectly. You may need to adjust it. So I'll give you an example. We're going to click on the background. Now, at the moment, this background doesn't have a sprite. It is purely just a color. But what we're going to do is put a sprite in where it says square. So we're going to go down here, click and drag this sprite across and drop it into where it says square. And as you do that, what will happen is your background will appear on there. Now the background is much bigger than the square, so it's gone to the size of the background itself. But what you can see is there's a slight blue tint on this, and that's because the original color of our square was blue. So what I'm going to do is click on this bar and change it to white. Now changing it to white right in the top corner, or 255 on everything, will put it back to its original color, the actual image's color. And now all I'm going to do is resize it. Okay, I'm going to just resize this so that the background works. Okay, now to give you an idea what that background will look like, we can click on play, and then you can then decide whether that's too close still. For me, that's still way too close. So I'm going to make it even smaller. Okay. I will also show you how to change camera as well, the camera settings, because that can also make the game feel much nicer. So I think that is going to be probably a better size. So I'm going to make that a bit bigger. Mountains I want to look like they're really tall. I'm going to press play again. And there we go. We can see that the game looks a bit nicer now with that background. And what you could even do is if you want, you can duplicate the background and move it across. This way, you've got an extending background. Okay, so you can move the background, move it across. So the background then completely flows. And that, what I mean by that is if I go back onto the game and start it, you can see that there's no grey area there. It just starts, which is exactly what I want. Okay, now I want to change the ground one. So I'm going to do exactly the same. I'm going to find the ground that I want, which is going to be this one just here. Drag it into the square option once I've selected the ground sprite and drop it in. Sometimes you may have to drop it in by clicking it in, but it will drop in. And I'm going to change it back to white. This then gives me a lovely grassy kind of textured sprite. All of my sprites, by the way, are off of the internet absolutely due to the fact that I just haven't got the time to make them. Okay, and there we go. There's my ground. Now, you may also, with the ground, may want to make that a little bit smaller. And the reason for that is because the larger your sprites are, the more pixelated they will be when you shrink them. And again, you may just want to duplicate that and just move it across the x-axis until it gets to the end. There we go. So I'm just moving it across, holding the x-axis and moving it left and right to move the actual item. That way you know it is going to be dead on the right axis. And all I'm going to do is again just go onto the game. Now, what you will notice here, okay, is that ground has now kind of lost its box collider, if you will. Okay. We can go back to that. We can change that later. That's not a problem. Okay. So yes, that then allows us to change the items again. Next, we're going to change the enemy. Okay, so our enemy sprite. Next we're going to change the goal sprite. Here we are. We're going to change the goal, and I'm going to make that this. And that's just going to be a tiny bit smaller to fit in with what we want. And again, I just need to make it white so that we get the original color, which is going to be a bit more gray. And I can see that actually it's not quite in the place I want it, so I'm going to move it down a bit. There we go. Now, going back to this box collider, the reason it's falling through, I don't know if you can see, but the box collider here has changed. That's because we've changed the shape. Now, if I click on the edit collider, all we need to do is drag these green green boxes across, and it will fit the area that we want it to be. Okay, so it's always worth checking before you duplicate anything that is exactly as you wish. But if I press play now, you'll see that the collider works exactly as it's intended to. In fact, actually, I've probably done it too high here because you can see there's a little bit of a gap. But I can jump around still. Oh, jump away from that enemy. Oh, there we go. Managed to eat him anyway. There we go. And obviously you can see that this background is still not quite how I want it because the background itself is showing at the bottom. I'm going to bring it up and I'm going to do the same over here. And then if I press play, you'll see that I've got my background and everything. Now you can make the background smaller if you want. It depends how close you want it to the camera. But at the moment, the background is making it look all right. So we've got the cave changed as well. We obviously need to change the wall. That probably will be like a tree or something. But let's now add in our enemy and collectible. So we're going to go back to the folder that you've got. You may not be able to see the folder on the screen, but I will make sure I show you in class how to do this. Basically, load up your folder that's on your computer. Find the items you need. So I need a dino egg, which I have placed in now, and I've got my 2 dinosaurs. I've got a bad dinosaur, which is red, and a good dinosaur, which is green. I've also got a caveman because actually I'm going to have a variation of different enemies in there. So yeah, it's always good to have options. Now, what you'll notice about my character, and I think the enemy, I think I've put it on the enemy, maybe not. I haven't, so I will have to change that. But what you'll notice about my character compared to the floor is the fact that I have got, instead of a box collider, I've got a polygon collider. So box collider, it does exactly what it says on the tin. It makes a box around whatever sprite you place it on, and that acts as your collider. So when one thing touches this collider here, it is going to then stop. Okay, so instead of going through, it will stop. Now, the difference is I have a polygon collider on here. Now, the polygon collider means it will attach itself to the exact shape of your sprite. And I'll give you an example. So currently, if I show you, it is... let me just change that again. So, at the moment, if I was to... There we go. Reset it. You can see, I'm hoping, just about that there's a green line around this square now. There we go. Can you see it? Just zoomed in. So there's a green line around the square. That is where the polygon collider is taking me to. So that's saying that that is a complete square. Okay, so it's matching the actual shape. What we're going to do is place this dino in there. So I'm going to get my dinosaur. Sorry, first of all, I'm going to click on the player. And I'm going to grab my dinosaur and drag it into the sprite box there. And there we go, my little dinosaur has now been attached. Now, you can see that the collider is still a box, which means that even though there's no part of the dinosaur in this section here, it is still going to collide with anything else that's got a collider on it. So what we need to do is, using the polygon collider, we're going to click reset, and it resets the collider to the exact shape of the dinosaur. So if I move my mouse around it, you can see it fits the dinosaur perfectly. That means it's not going to have parts of the dinosaur which are just about... so for example, if the enemy touches the dinosaur here, the dinosaur is not going to reset. It has to actually touch the shape of the dinosaur. Okay, and I'll give you another demonstration of that as well in a second. So that is the dinosaur. We're going to now do exactly the same to the bad dino. Now again, if I click on here, you can see that the box collider shows all of this green around the square. We want it to be the shape of the dinosaur we're putting in. So I'm going to put in our dinosaur by clicking and dragging it to the sprite section. And already you can see the dinosaur is, huge. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger, maybe. Make it a bit more, but actually make it a tiny bit smaller. Maybe about the same size, actually. That's probably right, yeah. And then what I'm going to do is, you can see the box colliders on there. Now I could just stretch the box collider so it fits around the dinosaur, absolutely. But as I was saying, if you do that, this corner here, if it touches your player, will send your player back to the spawn point. Now that's because the collider is all around this sprite part here and not tight to the sprite. So what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of that component. We're going to click on these 3 menu circles, click remove component, and it's gone. And what I'm going to do is also, while I'm here, change it back to white. There we go. And I'm going to add a component, and we're going to this time search for Polygon Collider, add it in, and you can see it's now fitting around the actual dinosaur. So when you first put it in, it will go to around a shape that you've got. That's why it's important to have a transparent shape and not one with a background. Okay. So that's the dinosaur, and if you need to move your screen, move the canvas, you can use this grabbing tool. There we go. So there's our dinosaur. Now I want to see whether that works, so I'm going to quickly press play, and you can start looking at whether or not so for example, I know that I need to move this one down, there's too much of a gap, and I need to move that one actually up. But the way I need to move that one up is by using the waypoints. But as you can see, it does work. If I jump on the dinosaur, there we go, it goes. So I've now got a little bit of a more playable game. But I don't want just a circle there, I want something more collectible than that. So I'm going to change that, and again I'm going to change it to white ready, and I'm going to add in my dinosaur egg. So the dinosaur egg is going to be my collectible item. I'm going to shrink it so it's not so huge. There we go. So now my dinosaur egg's on there. Okay. And again, I could use the box collider, which is going to be around the original square. Can you see? So obviously that egg's bigger than the original sprite, so I'm going to remove that component, add a new one, which is the polygon one, and it should go around the entire sprite. There we go. Exactly what I wanted. So now, what will happen is if I press play, my dinosaur should run towards the egg, collect it. Oh, not quite. So we've not done something quite right there. Polygon collider is trigger. I think we were missing on that. Let's just have a quick look. There we go. We're missing the trigger, so we just need to make sure we tick it. And now I've collected an egg. Hurrah! I'm going to jump on that dinosaur, and I'm going to make a jump over. There we go. Very agile dinosaur. Now I'm falling through there because, as you can see, if I go zooming out, we've sorted out that box collider, but we haven't sorted out this one. So all I need to do is change the box collider so that it fits across the entire thing. Okay. And that's why playing the game from time to time will help. And I'm going to actually bring that down a tiny bit so it's actually level with the grass. And I'm going to do the same over on this side. So I need to move it over. So I'm just getting those fine tuning bits done as we go along. There we go. So if I press play, what should happen is I should be able to jump over, or collect the egg, sorry. Collect the egg, jump over the dinosaur, or defeat him. There we go. Oh, I'm going to fall into that. Yeah, there we go. Fell into lava. Jump over this time. I've collected it, and this time I'm not going to fall in. And then what I'm going to do is eventually go into that cave. So we're nearly done adding our sprites in for our first level. And again, you can change your sprites very easily. So if you wanted to change your dinosaur to a caveman, you just bring your caveman one in. Maybe shrink him down a bit as he's a caveman. Something like that. And now obviously the polygon collider is not going to be the right shape. If I click on it, actually, should be the same shape as the original dinosaur. It is. So all I'm going to do is click reset, and it changes. And then if I press play, there we go. Got our caveman ready, and I can jump on him. So it's as simple as just swapping them in and out. So I'm going to leave the caveman for the moment. What else do we need? I think we just need to add something there for the wall. So for me, I'm going to just use for now some kind of like bouldery kind of thing. It's not really been thought out, that one. So I'm going to just take this boulder, put it into here. There we go. There's our, I don't know, wall, I suppose. I'm going to rotate it as well, so it's on its, so it's upwards. Okay. Now, I want to show you how it's going to work actually. So if I find the key is here. So if I bring this over to there a minute, let me just show you what's going to happen. So if the key, you know, was further along, I missed it. This is what would happen. Let me just reset that. This is what would happen if the wall was placed there and the key on the other side. Let me just show you. So I can pick that up. He can go through it. I don't know if you could see that because his waypoints allow it, but I can't. Okay, so because the key is on that side and it's not disappearing, I cannot get over it. I can jump. But that's it. So that needs to be after the key. So the key is somewhere there. There we are. So I'm going to move this back to there. And as you can see, I can now get the key, I can get rid of this wall, and it will allow me to go on to the next level. So I'm going to get the egg, great, more like stepping on the egg, but never mind. Jump across. Oh, didn't quite make the jump there. Collect the key, and that goes, and actually, bang, there we go. I'm in. So our game is now looking pretty much ready, and it's much better than where we were earlier, and that's just by adding the sprites in. So simply adding sprites in is fantastic, and it already makes the game really more engaging. Okay, the only one like I say, I haven't had a chance to make is something for this hazard, but again, by using the polygon collider and by creating some fancy sprites, it really will make your game look much nicer. So that's how you change the sprites. That's also how do you change the box colliders to fit around your sprites. So in the next video, in the next lesson, we are also going to look at how you can then duplicate your sprites so you don't have to keep creating new boxes, new platforms. All you're going to be doing is then just duplicating your items and moving them around. Because actually once you've got these items that we got here, you don't need to keep creating new ones. You are just duplicating them and changing the sprite or changing the location of it. So again, any questions, just ask a member of staff in the class review or myself, and I will make sure that I relay the information once again. So thank you for that one. Any other issues, let me know.